Hello, welcome to today's webinar. We're just going to leave a couple of minutes just to get a few more people to join. So feel free to grab a coffee or a drink whilst we're just waiting. Thank you. Just whilst we're waiting for people to attend, I just want to do a quick shout out for those that are already online. If you could just pop in the Q&A that you can hear me, okay? Just a yes or a thumbs up, anything like that. Fabulous, thank you. That's brilliant. So we'll just wait a couple more minutes and then we'll get started. Right, we're just going to leave it another minute and then we'll get cracking. So for those that have joined and haven't had a coffee, quickly go run and make yourself one. And then we'll get cracking shortly. Thank you. Right, I think we're safe to get started. So, hello, and welcome to today's webinar on the 3 biggest fears for partners, where we have partnered with the fabulous Cloud 2020. So, for those who don't know me, my name's Natalie McKay, and I work in the business applications team at Westcoast Cloud. So today we have an action-packed webinar where we'll be discussing how partners can overcome their challenges with growing a Dynamics 365 and Power Platform practice by partnering with the likes of Cloud 2020 and Westcoast Cloud. So the 3 key areas of discussion today are FOBFO, which is fear of being found out. I absolutely love the acronyms, as does Microsoft. FOLO, which is the fear of losing out. And one of my favourites is FOMO, fear of missing out. I think it's safe to say that we've all suffered with that one at some point in our lives. I certainly know I have. Before I introduce Cloud 2020, I just want to take this time to share what BizApps is and ultimately means. So we're just going to go on to the next slide. So business applications, or BizApps for short, is a collection of applications that span across Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform. So Dynamics 365 is a single platform from Microsoft that brings together your business applications. So that's the likes of sales, customer service, operations, marketing, finance. All of these applications help you run your business in a unified and intuitive way. So Dynamics 365 can be split into 2 key areas. So the first being CRM, customer relationship management. So what this is consists of customer engagement apps, being sales, customer service, marketing, and field service. ERP for enterprise resource planning, consisting of finance, HR, supply chain management, commerce, project operations, and not forgetting the all-up SMB ERP solution, Business Central. But what exactly does this mean? So CRM, customer relationship management, ultimately is software that helps businesses manage customer relations. Why is this so important? So when your customers create tailored connections with their customers, the result improves customer satisfaction, sales, and ultimately retention. Same with ERP. What is it? It is the management of all information and resources involved in a company's operations. So why is this so important? Streamlining and automating back office functions leads to more efficiency in your overall operations. Ultimately, when you improve your business performance, it enables a company to grow, which ultimately leads to increased profits and a return on your investment. So the great thing is that all your information is in one place by utilising Dataverse. And this database creates a holistic view of your company data. Power Platform consists of Power Apps to create custom canvas or model-driven apps, Power Automate to automate manual processes, Power BI for insights and reporting, and finally, Power Virtual Agents to answer any questions posed by your customers, employees, or visitors to your website or service, saving time for your workforce to deal with high priority queries. So essentially, this is a group of applications and solutions, but what would a solution typically look like? So an example is an expense report solution. So you could create a Power App template, My Expenses. You could utilize AI Builder, which is the artificial intelligence, by taking a picture of your receipts and scanning that information and inputting it into Dataverse, and then building a Power Automate flow for approvals over a certain amount. You can also utilize Power BI to create a dashboard to report and monitor any expenses. I mean, this is just a very small example. In all fairness, it's such a large solution and creative solution that, you know, the possibilities are endless. Which kind of leads me quite nicely onto our next slide. What can West Coast Cloud do to help? So this is a fantastic slide to highlight what value add we provide. So, you know, we understand that Microsoft information is not always in one place. It can be a little bit of a minefield, trying to find out relevant information or even navigating around licensing guides. You know, I mean, the Dynamics licensing guide is 60 pages. You know, if you like a bit of bedtime reading, then by all means crack on. But, you know, this is in essence what we are here for. So we absolutely love connecting the dots and bringing the relevant information to you, our partners, rather than you spending hours on end trying to search for it. It isn't a great use of your time. You want to be on the phone, you want to be servicing your customers. So this is where we really do come into our own. Ultimately, we want to empower you to reach your maximum potential. This is our main goal. So I'm just going to go on to my last slide now before I hand over to the lovely Cloud 2020. And this is our Sure Step program. So for those of you that have been around the block a few times and have been, you know, on the Microsoft bandwagon for a few years, Sure Step years ago was essentially a sales methodology. So this has now been rebranded today as Microsoft Catalyst. Fast forward to today, and the Sure Step program now helps Microsoft partners grow and expand their cloud business with Microsoft. Essentially, the program helps you access the relevant Microsoft partner programs, resources, training, and certifications to help you sell more and increase your margins. If you have had one of the team reach out to you to offer a Sure Step review, I urge you to take them up on the offer. It really is amazing how many partners that have had engagement with the Sure Step team have been pleasantly surprised at how much support is actually available being a Microsoft partner. I think, you know, our main goal is to hold your hand and help you navigate through all of the resources available. You know, we certainly want to take that journey together. Speaking of taking a journey, I'm sure you're probably tired of my voice now. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce Cloud 2020, the lovely Ian and Wendy, who will go through the 3 fears in more detail. And to give a fabulous quote from Nelson Mandela, a brave person is not someone who doesn't feel afraid, but who conquers that fear. So let's all conquer that fear together. I'm now going to hand over the reins to the lovely Ian and Wendy from Cloud 2020.
Thank you, Natalie. What a great introduction there. And Katie is our silent partner here, who's making sure that what you see on the screen is what we've agreed you'll see on the screen for our section. So thank you very much, Katie. And Ian, I can see that you're still muted, so I'll unmute you there. So hello, everybody, whatever time of day you're going to be watching this. We know that many people can't actually make the time during the day, but they do pick these things up later. And it's great to have this opportunity to chat with you, essentially. And thank you so much, Natalie, for such a great introduction and really interesting points there around the movement into Catalyst from the previous SureStep sales play, and then the opportunity that's afforded by the SureStep review. And as a partner with you, we have actually undergone our own process there, and we learn things. So encourage everybody to do that. My CEO, Ian Bourne, is on the call with me here, and morning. Thanks, Ian. And we're taking this opportunity now to talk to you about the 3 fears that we've identified that are in play when partners consider the Dynamics 365 and now the Power Platform world, when they're looking at it from the perspective of being an Azure specialist or a Microsoft 365 specialist. And we all know those worlds are getting closer together now, don't we? But still, there is a bit of a leap and a bit of a gap there with regard to competency, internal resourcing, understanding the capability of the solutions that are out there now, and just seeing where that fits in your customer's digital transformation journey, which we know so many are on now because of our previous 12 months experience. So we've been working with Westcoast now for a number of years, Ian, haven't we?
Yeah, we started out probably about 5 years ago now with Westcoast, because Westcoast was very early onto the cloud arena. Yes. And we wanted to work alongside somebody that was actually getting out there and doing the whole cloud thing. So yeah, we've been working with for a long while now, and therefore we've had a lot of time to get experience of how to make the partner to partner relationship work well, which I think is what we come on to, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And during that period, we've identified, well, we've kind of consolidated around 3 major ones, which are very human. We're all human beings, even though we're at work, aren't we? And the first one is FOBFO, which possibly not many people will have heard of. But I think what we're speaking about here, we believe in acronyms. They all work for all of us, don't they? What we're speaking about here is actually the fear of being found out. Now, you might wonder, what's that mean for me as a partner? And I guess what we're talking about here is your customer is going on a digital transformation journey. We've been looking at news reports, intelligence reports in the business community, and seeing that very much there is a movement now to working online, ending reliance on people having to be in a certain place to do that work and access that information. And whilst, within Microsoft 365, obviously we've got the brilliant kind of Office 365 suite, which started all of this, I think. But if we're talking about your customer as a whole, they may well get to a place on their journey that you don't have the skills to carry on taking them on. And at that point, what do? We believe that the world has changed, and the understanding that you wouldn't necessarily know everything that there is to know, and you might want to have to bring in skilled partners as part of creating this sense of you being a trusted advisor to your company. That will enable you to get over the fear of being found out, essentially. I can see you nodding your head there, Ian. I think that's something that's resonating very much with you.
Yeah, I think what we're trying to make the point here is from experience, working with the partners that we do in West Coast ecosphere is absolutely, the customer's been down that journey, and boy, has that journey been accelerated for some customers recently. We all know why. Yeah. So almost being forced into it in some occasions, or just had to step up the speed of transition, and that's fine. So getting Microsoft 365 into place, getting online Exchange sorted out, SharePoint sorted out, third-party applications up to Azure, absolutely. We tend to be on the end of that digital transformation journey when we come in with the business applications piece. Absolutely. In fact, we would push back and we do push back where customers want to go into business applications, but they haven't done the Microsoft 365 transition yet, or moved third-party apps into Azure. And we will go and find them a partner, or suggest they go and find a partner to make that happen first, because it's important that happens, because with the bit we do, natively connects into SharePoint, into Teams, into Exchange, and then really lights up. But we do know that a lot of partners will do one or two things. They'll either ignore that scenario or they'll engage. And because they don't want to be seen, this is where our FOBFO comes in, don't want to be seen to not know everything.
Yeah.
And I often relate this to the scenario of getting an extension done in your house. You might call in a builder, but he won't necessarily be a plumber or an electrician or a roofer. He will bring those skills and trades in. And that's how we find this tends to work. If you're the trusted advisor, the trusted partner working alongside, absolutely remain that trusted advisor, but don't get caught out of, don't have the fear that you're going to get asked a question by a customer around business applications that you can't answer. Bring us in alongside and make that happen. So that's really the fundamentals of FOBFO.
Yes, and I guess we've been doing this for a number of years with partners. We do understand those difficulties, and I guess some of the places that we might actually be able to engage helpfully are around helping to scope, helping to understand what the project is from a business perspective and a user perspective, rather than just looking at the product perspective, which is it's a bit of a trap, isn't it, that place?
Absolutely. I think our first discussions are normally around, well, what is the issue? What are your key challenges at the moment? What are the hurdles you've got to growth? What are your challenges engaging with your customer? Let's understand that. Once you understand that, we can then discuss with you where bringing in some business applications can really add value. Natalie described a whole range of potential products and services and what have you in her introduction. And it's really our job to look at the customer's requirements and go, in actual fact, what you need is a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and we can bring those all together for you. But that's a discussion, to be had after the first engagement, which is really to identify the customer. If they engage in this journey, what's success going to look like for them? And that's a really important conversation to have right up front, because it can really enlighten the customer. And from our experience, we can really explain to them how implementing something like a business application can really, really transform their business.
Yeah. And I think that then leads us nicely on to our next slide, which is FOLO, fear of losing out. And the fact is that we as an organisation focus solely on Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform. We aren't in the business of looking for customers that are off to offer them Office 365, Microsoft 365 licenses, Azure services. That's not our world. Our world is Dynamics 365 in the Power Platform, and that's big enough for us. Actually, I think it's still a very wide range of products to get your head around and different tools and skills in the toolbox. But there are other bigger organisations out there that would do both of those things, Dynamics 365 and Office 365, for example. And I think one of the fears that drives people potentially to actually do something and engage with people like us is the fear of losing out, because potentially your customer could want to continue on their digital transformation journey and look for another partner. If they can't get the answers they need from you, then they could bring in another partner who may well want all of that licensing. So I think it's a fear that we've identified that actually is a positive fear, in that it may well push into action. I don't know have you got examples of that, Ian? You've been here for a very long time doing this stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's as you rightly said, we when Dynamics became a SaaS product, we got into it because some of our customers asked us to, and then we really, the team really got engaged with it, and so therefore we took a conscious decision to stop doing everything else. Now, this makes us slightly unique in that approach, but as you rightly say, it was a good decision because Dynamics and the Power Platform are now a huge environments to keep up to date with, and that's it's a daily job for us to keep up to date with the development and rollout of what this amazing platform can do. But it means that we do not engage with the Microsoft 365 and the SharePoint and the Azure and what have you. But we do need to work with a partner alongside that, because everything we do works alongside those platforms. So we need to connect to Exchange to make sure that we can synchronize activity like and emails and tasks into Outlook, and vice versa. And by setting that up, also then the relationship assistant piece kicks off and starts getting that AI going, or what have you. So we need to work with that partner. Also, it's a great way of working a project to make sure that that with us, because the partner knows the customer so well, they can help us get these projects over the line, because they can sometimes get quite complex, and we need that partner to work with us to make sure the customer engages with us. So the fear of losing out, don't let somebody else come in at the end of the digital transformation journey that you've worked so hard to get the customer through to that point. Don't let then somebody else come in and pick up the last piece, which is actually also, and this is probably leading on to our last fear, something you don't want to leave out.
Absolutely. So very nice segue there to Ian, to fear of missing out, and obviously that there's revenue shares, there's the impact of that on businesses can be very useful in terms of growing turnover. There's also the connection to the customer as well, when they can see it embeds you further into their ecosystem, that you are offering these services, albeit via a third party, but a third party that you've checked out, that will deliver, that has the backing of Westcoast. All of those things come into play here. That fear of missing out, though, is another useful driver, I think, to encourage people to get over the fear of being found out, essentially.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think hopefully we've explained FOBFO and FOLO, and if you can get your head around those, then that actually creates FOMO. It's actually, when we talk to partners, they go, okay, I'll get this. So you guys are not going to take any business off us. You're going to add business to our portfolio. Brilliant. We don't have to employ very expensive consultants or do a huge amount of learning and upskilling, because you guys can do that, and you can work alongside us. Brilliant. In that case, I want some. That's FOMO. That's FOMO, because now you can really engage in this business activity, and the revenues are good. Let's be honest, the revenues are good because these are sometimes quite sizable projects. And the other thing to bear in mind is that we tend to go in, as we said before, we really need to identify what it is that's going to give the customer some ROI in the short term. So we're very keen to make that happen. We'll identify that, we'll go in, we'll deploy it, we'll make it happen, we'll get the results happening for the customer. Brilliant. Almost invariably, there will be further projects that come out of it. So we may go in and do sales, and then next minute the customer wants to back that up with customer service or marketing or some biz apps or whatever, finance maybe. So this is normally the first project, tightly defined, deployed successfully in a short period of time and getting some results from the customer, normally leads on to further projects and therefore further revenue. So really, let's get you over the first two fears and let's create FOMO for you, so you don't want to leave these opportunities behind.
I think that's such a good way of looking at it, that fear can be a driver, can't it, for good things, to make sure it gets us out of that kind of paralysis around, can I honestly say to my customer, actually I need to bring somebody else in? And we would say yes, because when you do that, you build trust, because it is a position of integrity to say, this is a big world out there. But I guess the other part of that is to say, you're actually you're further embedding your customer into Microsoft products, which then is that dream of the Microsoft stack across all parts of the business, all the windows in the house, sell every room in the house, all of that kind of stuff that we receive from Microsoft. This is the way to do it, that partner to partner. We see also that coming very strongly from Microsoft is the understanding that particularly around the SMB world, that is a particular way for businesses to grow and engage with this. So if you can work your way through FOBFO to FOLO, and then let FOMO lead you into picking up the phone and making that call, then I think that the fears have worked well for you and turned into a positive for your organisation.
I think we should mention as well is that, you know, if you get this phone up, pick the phone up, as you say, have a call with Natalie's team, because what we've got working with Natalie is we've got a whole range of ways of, particularly SMBs, actually consuming this. Now, for some SMBs, we have a fixed price deployment option called Springboard that kind of gets them on the road. And for some SMBs, knowing exactly what the costs are going to be, exactly what they're going to get, gives them a comfort factor and gets them into business applications. Of course, we've got other options around asset management and HR and all that kind of good stuff, which are very specific. Again, we can switch them on and get them deployed very quickly. Or we can do the customized piece where the customer's got a very specific requirement and we can scope that out and deliver it. So there's lots of ways that you can engage this with your customers. Talk to Natalie's team. They've got all the collateral to support you. They can help you make contact with us at the right point in time, and with their understanding of what business applications are, they can support you through this process. Absolutely.
So I think, Ian, that brings us really to the Q&A part of the session, and I know that Natalie is monitoring our Q&A. Can I ask Katie if you could put send both Ian and myself live, because I think that's a slightly better view than the screen. If we can, that would be fantastic. So but don't worry if it's not possible. So Natalie, I just need to ask, have we got some things in the Q&A there that we can
Not yet, but by all means, you know, feel free, any questions, anything like that, more than happy to help. So just pop them in the Q&A.
One of the questions that I know that we're often asked in these circumstances are around, do you white label? And I think we've got some good reasons for saying no, we don't. But I think actually that essentially brings us back to FOBFO, doesn't it? Because Ian, I'm sure you've got opinions about white labeling, but one of the things we usually say is, you know, if we were white labeling for a lot of different people, it would be very difficult to remember who we were on that day.
Yeah, I think, our view on white labeling is that it doesn't work. Let's be honest, with LinkedIn these days, everyone knows who you are. So, you know, so straight away, you're actually creating a little bit of mistrust. You know, I thought you said you were with X, Y, and Z Limited. How come you're actually with Cloud 2020? That doesn't make sense. So we don't do that. And again, I go back to my analogy of having the extension on your house. You know, you know that the builder, when he turns up, he brings a good sparky in with him. He brings a good plumber in. They do their job, and that's absolutely fine. And the line of vans in the car park have got their names written down the logos. So, you know, I think as the trusted partner of your customer, it works to say, we're bringing these people in. They're going to do the job. This is what they do. We'll make sure that support doesn't drop down through a black hole, which is sometimes a question that customers may ask, and that's absolutely fine. And I think the fact you're bringing in the people that do the job is actually respected, and we certainly don't get any problems from SMBs in that approach at all.
No, I'd agree too, in my experience with you. And I'm just, so some of the other questions we often get asked are, so how does this actually work in terms of invoicing and billing and all of that kind of stuff? And I think I'd have to say for that, to point everybody back to Natalie's team. They've got a good process. Our experience is that it's a very streamlined process. It doesn't involve us necessarily engaging directly with your customer in terms of invoicing, and that some of those parts of the way things work are actually in your hands. So obviously there's a discussion to be had around referral fees or commissions or that kind of stuff as well, but this should add money to your bottom line, essentially. So that's actually what we're in this world doing right now for you for you guys?
Yeah, what we find is that customers, partners, sorry, that they, we walk them through the first opportunity, and we're really keen for them to be on that call with a customer, the team's call, because they can understand how we have that discussion around adding value, and making the customer feel comfortable, and then delivering it. And also then the opportunities they may pick up during that process. There may be requirement for more SharePoint or whatever goes on. So, that real partnership approach. And then they very quickly realize how straightforward this is.
Yes.
And also the breadth of what we can deliver. There isn't a function in the back office of a business that we can't touch in some way, finance or stock management or manufacturing or project management. It's endless. So there's almost always a conversation to be had where you're working with your customers and they go, oh, we've had a challenge with so and so, or we lost this crucial Excel spreadsheet. Oh, hang on a minute. Perhaps you need to talk to our colleagues at Cloud 2020. They may have a solution for that. So, it's again, once you got over the fears, it's then about building the confidence, and we would like to work with you to do that, and we think we can.
Yes. So, Natalie, are there any questions to be asked?
Not as yet.
Okay. So
yes, sorry. Yes, there's just one that's just come in. So FOBFO. So when building a CRM type solution on Power Platform, you've basically sold an application. Do customers seem to mind whether that solution is Power Apps or Dynamics? Very good question.
I would say they don't necessarily, but why would you remake the wheel?
Mm-hmm.
So there are differences in licensing, obviously, and that might be why you're going down that pathway. And in that respect, I'd kind of draw to your attention the Springboard solution that we've created, which sits on the sales professional license, which potentially for SMBs may be an easier access in terms of licensing fees. But the customers don't really see that there's a difference, and I understand that, because from a user perspective it looks the same. So I don't think, unless they're thinking about engaging in the full Dynamics 365, and the where I'm going with that is, in order to have a reduced price attached license for marketing, for example, for the marketing app, you need a minimum of 10 full Dynamics 365 licenses. So obviously, if you've gone down the road of getting a Power Apps sales thing, then you have to pay the full price for marketing if you then want to add that in. So I don't know, Ian, do you have further comments on that?
Yeah, I think it can be a little bit confusing, this thing. When the Power Platform came out, and and it's more and more become the main focus. I think if you think of it that in fact James Phillips, who is the president of business applications for Microsoft, he talks now about Power Platform being they are now delivering a platform scenario which happens to have these applications built by Microsoft that you can buy if you wish, like sales or customer service or marketing, what have you, or you can go off and do it yourself. Now, there's always a balance to be had. So, for example, we've built a product for asset management. You could actually do it through Field Service. But Field Service has got so much more in it. Field Service is an amazing bit of kit, but it's also very complex, of which asset management is a minor part of. So we had a lot of customers that just wanted to manage assets, their warranty, their testing, the contracts on them, and that type of stuff. We had a very specific use case actually initially, and we built our own application on the Power Apps. Now, if you've already got the customer with Dynamics, we can drop it straight in there. Or if they just want to do asset management, they can do it as a Power App. And that's an example of where you may possibly do it. Would I bother to build a sales app? Probably not, because as you very rightly say, Wendy, there's a couple of options. There's a sales professional license and there's a sales enterprise license, and there's a fixed price deployment built on the sales professional license. So the work's done. Not only that, we've enhanced it and what have you, and we've made it really work. So would you put a lot of effort and time into building something that has been done very, not just by us, but by Microsoft very well? Possibly not. So I think there's a balance to be made there. Again, for things like, for example, HR, we have an HR platform we can drop straight in that does the whole thing from attract, on board, management and offboarding and recruitment, the whole thing. Okay, to rebuild that would take literally thousands of hours of work. So you probably wouldn't do that. You might as well just use it and then it's already continuously updated and all that kind of good stuff. Now, again, that can sit either on its own as an HR platform in a Power Apps scenario, or if you've already got a customer that uses Dynamics, great opportunity to have a conversation with them about how do you manage your HR system at the moment. I'll tell you now, I reckon over 90% of businesses run HR and Excel spreadsheets.
Yeah.
Which in GDPR these days and all that kind of stuff, I think is a bit of a, is a question to be had. So if you've already got a customer with Dynamics, hey, what are you doing about HR? Do you know what? We've got something that works really for you, because anybody who's already got a Dynamics license potentially is already a user that can use, that needs less licensing to run their HR platform with. So great opportunities to have. Back to the question, Power Apps versus Dynamics. I think it depends on the scenario. Have a chat with us about that. Very happy to answer questions around those very specifics. So again, reach out to Natalie. She always knows how to get hold of us, and I think that's going to contact's going to come on the screens later. Yeah. But we're happy to talk through the scenario and give you some guidance on what is the most appropriate of the two models.
And I suppose just to add, it is a key question: is what are you trying to achieve, really? Yeah. I think that's just such an important aspect as to which route you go. So yeah, certainly, and I think just needs a conversation to be had, really. It's as simple as that.
It does. I think we're all finding our way through a world that's become even more complex, both for ourselves personally, in business sense, but also in terms of the number of tools that there are in the box. So, for me, that means then always asking the what do they say? They call it the beginner mind questions. Those very basic questions that sit at the bottom of knowledge. So, what are you trying to achieve is very much the first question to ask before you make a decision about which platform you're going to use, what solution is effective.
I've just had a question come in, actually. So can we have a partner-to-partner conversation with Cloud 2020 to discuss joint offering, or do we have to have an end-user opportunity?
No, we're happy to speak to partners about any opportunity. And in fact, we had one of those calls yesterday, didn't we, Ian? With a potential partner that is looking very specific in a very specific area, vertical and function, and we're happy to add our voice, our expertise to that in terms of what the basis of the solution should be, the kind of technical architecture of it, and also what the commercials might be. Ian, I think you've probably got something to say about that as well, haven't you?
Yeah, it's interesting. We and it's not the first time it's happened, but certainly the conversation I had yesterday with a partner was they were very much a strategic enablement organisation. So they were going into a particular vertical, and they were talking to them about the digital transformation requirement, and really offering their customers the ability to move into the 21st century in a bit of a rush. So they had some very clear requirements, but they didn't know how they were going to achieve that, or what platforms it was going to be based on. So they've given us a very clear list of, this is our wish list, this is what we want to achieve, and we're working with them now to say, right, that needs a Power App, that can be done on Dynamics, this needs a bit of Power BI to report back, we need some flows going between there and there, we need some SharePoint connected in here for secure document storage, yada yada, and we're working with them along that, and we will actually, I think, end up supporting them, so they will go in into the strategic discussions because they are in the vertical, therefore they understand the language, they understand the tribes within that environment, or what have you, But because we know what Dynamics can do and the Power Platform can do, we're very much the technology piece that goes behind that. And that's a really exciting project coming forward. So yeah, we're happy to talk to on specific opportunities or verticals, whatever. So yeah, please pick the phone up to Natalie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't. Do we have any further questions, Natalie?
Not at this present moment in time, but I thought it'd be quite nice for partners, especially, you know, if they're kind of just getting to grips with Dynamics and Power Platform. They kind of know what it is, but not too sure how to position it. So, you know, what would you say are just, you know, key opening questions, or you know, kind of key things to listen out for? Obviously, Ian did touch earlier, if they're managing their business on Excel spreadsheets, which is just absolutely chaotic. I mean, in all fairness, there's a lot of companies that do that. I mean, crikey, I had a conversation with a partner that had a customer that was still lugging his desktop round. You know, it was just insane. But yeah, you know, just companies that are still, you know, a bit prehistoric. What advice would you give partners that are just starting out on their journey, apart from come to us, of course, which I would always say, but yeah, just any little tidbits, really.
So I'll start, Ian, and then you'll add in extra things, I'm sure. One of the things that we say is, yes, okay, so you're listening for this blooming, we've got a spreadsheet that's corrupted, can you help us sort that out? We've got a 21-page Excel spreadsheet that is absolutely pertinent and really important in terms of running of our business, and it's all gone terribly wrong, can you help us sort us out? Those kinds of things are the messaging around a requirement that potentially the customer doesn't know there is a solution to already. And I think the other parts of this, and I know I'm stealing one of yours, Ian, here. So somebody rings up and says the sales director has walked out and they've taken the flash drive with all of our contact details on it. What can we do about that? How can we lock that down? It's too late, essentially, but then that leaves the conversation about, well, we don't want that to happen again. So how can we make sure that you've got secure data? How can we make sure that your very important sales contact details are held in a secure place that somebody can only log into if you give them permission and a license, essentially? So I'd say those are two big ones, and they're about listening. I think the other thing is rapid increase in Office 365 licensing. So business growth, particularly because you're taking on sales staff, and if you know that customer doesn't have a sales app, isn't managing their sales in that way, that then could provide an opening for a conversation, I'd say. Have you got some more, Ian?
Yeah, absolutely. All sorts of different indicators, really. As you say, growth is a particular one to watch out for. And if you're already embedded with your customer, you'll know that's happening because they're ordering laptops off you and they're asking for you to rewire new buildings or whatever it is. So if there's that business inflection going on, then the chances are that, you know, something's happened. They've bought a new company, they've got a new product going live, their marketing suddenly kicked off and what have you. That's a great time to have that discussion because, you know, it's better to bring in business applications earlier rather than later. So you've got it embedded before the company's so big that it makes it more difficult to implement. And if that doesn't sound a bit bizarre, but it also does raise an issue that when we're talking with customers, we have to explain to them that they know their business and they need to explain their business to us so that we can understand where the choke points are, where the drivers are for change, and we also know what the platforms can do for them, which they probably don't, with all due respect. But we can go through that process and say, look, we can actually automate that bit. Now that's going to save you some time. Therefore, you're going to be able to expand this bit of business over here without taking more people on, or the customers are going to be better serviced or better informed, or you're going to reduce your customer service rates, etc., etc. We've got lots of experience of bringing this stuff in and really making an impact, but it does require the customer to engage with us. There's no point in them just getting in touch with us and going, yeah, we'll have one of those. When can you start? When are you going to be finished? They have to be part of that process. And we've actually had the situation where customers have got that their resources being that stretched that we've had to say to them, you're going to have to bring somebody in to take some pressure off these people over here so they can talk to us to make this happen. Otherwise, we're never going to get anywhere. Yeah. So growth, really big issue. When there's any, obviously the cloud question, I had one yesterday. I was talking to a customer. I said, well, explain to me how, what your challenges are. And she said, well, I download these files onto my laptop. And I go, what? Hang on a minute. These are files about with personal details in them. Right, there's an issue there. Well, why'd you do that? Well, then I have to share them with somebody. Oh, hang on a minute. Right, okay. So straight away, there's an opportunity there to talk to them about putting this into a dynamic scenario, into the cloud, sharing the information, locking it down with good security roles, so only the right people can see it at the right time, etc., etc. There are so many opportunities to bring us in to have a conversation about business applications, and that's not necessarily around functionality. It's about the business and where they are at that point in time, or what they haven't got in place at that point in time. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I'd probably add in to that as well. Conversely, decline, not growth, decline. But when a business hits a problem area and they pull back down to the 3 people that are essential to run the business, or the 5-10 people that are essential to run the business, let's put it more in that framework, and then they stop using the offices and they're all working from home. At that point, actually, if they can spare the cash at that point, that is also a point at which organisations can look to change the way they're managing sales or customer service, because they recognise that they had a problem before that they didn't resolve, and they want to make sure that they start building back up with the right kind of platform underneath that growth. So I'd say there's that as well, which is kind of counterintuitive, but we've seen that happen as well.
Thank you. Thank you. I think certainly we can take from that is just have those meaningful conversations, really. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell, and understand the business a little bit better.
Yes, absolutely. So I think that we're drawing to a close here, and I'm wondering, Katie, if you wouldn't mind pushing up the contact details, just so that people know how they can get hold of us. So we're on LinkedIn. Please contact us there via Natalie, of course, and Natalie's team there. If you want further information about Cloud 2020, we have a YouTube channel, which we post weekly coffee time chats, really about the whole Dynamics world, Power Platform world, what we're seeing coming from Microsoft, changes that we might be seeing in terms of licensing, or wave 1, wave 2. We try to enable people to engage, to stay up to date with this stuff by presenting our view on things, so in a way that's kind of informal and easy to digest, because as Natalie mentioned, the licensing guide is only really good if you have a bout of insomnia. So those are our contact details. I'm certain those on the call here know Natalie's team there at Westcoast as well. And I guess from our perspective, we're reaching the end of this, and I'm going to hand back to Natalie here to say thank you so much for the opportunity, Natalie. We've really, I'm speaking for Ian here, but I'm absolutely certain that he's enjoyed it as much as I have. We always find these conversations to be really useful.
Absolutely.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much. It really is insightful. It's great it's great that our partners know that, you know, even if a conversation like that does arise, so it may not even be the partner driving it, it could be the customer. You know, the customer, I mean, Google, you know, all you have to do is type into Google and do your own research, and I'm sure some of the time the partners have probably had you know, customers come up to them going, oh, I've done a bit of research, I've had a little look at this, or, you know, Dynamics, or, you know, I'm interested in this particular application. And, you know, the amount of times that partners have probably, you know, felt a cold shiver down their spine and thought, oh God, goodness me, I have no idea what you're talking about. So I suppose, you know, having a session like this and you know, kind of going through those fears, I'm really hoping that the partners that have attended or might, you know, watch this at a later date will feel confident that, you know, Cloud 2020, West Coast Cloud, you know, we've got your back. We don't want you to miss out on those opportunities. And we just, you know, we just want to enable everybody to confidently have those conversations. So, you know, by all means, you know, get in contact with myself. I'm on, you know, LinkedIn, Natalie McKay, you know, natalie.mckay@westcoastcloud.co.uk. Alternatively, you know, we've got a whole team within the business applications department at West Coast Cloud who can be, you know, contacted directly again or via dynamics@westcoastcloud.co.uk. Even if it's something that you're just thinking of, or you know, you're thinking of dipping your toes in the water, I urge you just to have a conversation, and hopefully, you know, with the help of the likes of Cloud 2020, you know, we can create a successful Dynamics and Power Platform practice with you.
Great.
So thank you so much. Anybody, last chance, last call out for any questions or anything like that? Or just wait you know, for a minute for anyone to start typing, but I really do hope you've enjoyed this session, because I have.
Thank you, Natalie.
Right, last chance or forever hold your peace. Right, okay, we seem to be a little bit quiet, so which is great. They're probably emailing the inbox right now. So thank you so much, Wendy and Ian. It is always a pleasure, as always. And yeah, just get in contact. Fabulous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.